and also other courageous Afghans at special risk. And to that end, I'm prioritizing three key concerns. First, the safety and security of our people and the people that we're trying to evacuate. As the chairman will brief you, the final elements of additional military forces continue to flow into Kabul, with about 4,500 in place as we speak. They are trained and equipped to defend themselves in their operations. There have been no hostile interactions with the Taliban, and our lines of communication with Taliban commanders remain open, as they should be. My second focus is maintaining security at the airport itself. In concert with forces from our allies, our troops have set up defensive positions around the airport, and the airport is able to function safely. Now, we don't take this for granted, and I continue to be in daily contact with General McKenzie and commanders on the ground to make sure that they have what they need to keep it safe. My third area of focus, of course, is the pace, increasing the flow of aircraft and people out of Kabul. And we've flown out several thousand since the 15th of August, and our goal is to be able to increase our capacity every day going forward. And as we build out this capacity, we're working hand in glove with the State Department, which is leading the whole of government effort to notify and process American citizens who are leaving, and to urgently identify and process Afghan applicants as well. We've dispatched small military teams to two of the airport's gates to assist the State Department consular efforts as they evaluate and process individuals seeking entry. And we expect to be able to augment that capability in the coming days. This is truly a team effort across the interagency. And throughout all of this, our U.S. service members are making exceptional efforts under challenging circumstances and showing their humanity and their compassion. So I want to thank them for their skill and their professionalism. It's not lost on me that even as we conduct this very important mission, we also continue to help our fellow Americans deal with a new surge in the pandemic, and the citizens of Haiti deal with the aftermath of an earthquake. Let me also thank General McKenzie and Rear Admiral Vaisley, who is the commander of U.S. Forces Forward, and Major General Donahue of the 82nd Airborne Division, and Brigadier General Sullivan for their leadership at this critical time. It is making an enormous difference. And they know, as I do, that there's a lot of work to be done yet. Now, all of this is very personal for me. This is a war that I fought in and led. I know the country, I know the people, and I know those who fought alongside me. And as I said, we have a moral obligation to help those who helped us. And I feel the urgency deeply. So I want to end with a word for the force and our military. I know that these are difficult days for those who lost loved ones in Afghanistan and for those who carry the wounds of war. Especially now, we mourn those who made the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. And let me say to their families and loved ones, our hearts are with you. And the U.S. military stands as one to honor those we've lost. Now, Afghan war veterans aren't some monolith. I'm hearing strong views from all sides on this issue, and that's probably the way that it should be. What's important is that each of us will work our way through this in our own way. And we need to respect that, and we need to give one another the time and space to help do it. Our greatest asset as a nation is the extraordinary men and women who volunteer to keep us all safe and their families. We honor your service, we understand your sacrifice, and we will never forget it. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to General Milley, who can talk about where we stand operationally.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Secretary. What I'd like to do is give you an overall situation update as of today and what our next steps are. Currently, the United States military is focused on the specific mission of conducting a non-combatant evacuation operation from Afghanistan. This is likely to be probably the second largest NEO conducted by the United States. Our key tasks are to establish and maintain security at the Kabul International Airport, defend the airport from attack, evacuate all American citizens from Afghanistan who desire to leave this country, evacuate any third country national or allies and partners as designated by the Secretary of State, evacuate personnel with State Department designated special immigrant visas, and evacuate any other evacuees that the State Department designates. The President of the United States made a decision to withdraw U.S. forces from Afghanistan on April 14th. Since that date, we conducted a deliberate and responsible drawdown of U.S. forces to less than 1,000 with the specific task of securing the U.S. Embassy and our diplomatic presence in Afghanistan. Since then, the security situation rapidly degraded. Today, the situation is still very dangerous, very dynamic, and very fluid. And all of us can be proud of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who are executing this mission. They are currently in harm's way. That needs to be our focus. There'll be plenty of time to do AARs, but right now, our mission is to secure that airfield, defend that airfield, and evacuate all those who have been faithful to us. There'll be many postmortems on this topic, but right now is not that time. Right now, there are troops at risk, and we are the United States military, and we fully intend to successfully evacuate all American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. All American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. They are our priority number one. In addition, we intend to evacuate those who have been supporting us for years, and we're not going to leave them behind. And we will get out as many as possible. Our troops in Kabul are taking high risks to accomplish that mission. Every minute, these troops are on the ground, making difficult decisions with incredible skill, incredible bravery, and incredible valor. Currently, the security situation at the airport is stable. However, there are threats, and we're closely monitoring those. At any moment, they could happen. We can identify them. If we identify them, we will take immediate military action without hesitation in accordance with our rules of engagement. And the Taliban and every other organization in that country knows it. The Taliban are in and around Kabul right now, but they are not interfering with our operations. Through the State Department, the Taliban are facilitating the safe passage to the airport for American citizens, that is, U.S. passport holders. We also have a risk, as you saw the other day, of unarmed innocent civilians massing on the airfield where they became a safety hazard to our airplanes, our air crews, and also to themselves. And we currently have that situation under control inside the airfield. There's many other risks out there, and the troops are dealing with those every single day in this volatile environment, which can and likely will change rapidly. Let me make one comment on the intelligence, because I'm seeing all over the news that there are warnings of a rapid collapse. I have previously said from this podium and in sworn testimony before Congress that the intelligence clearly indicated multiple scenarios were possible. One of those was an outright Taliban takeover following a rapid collapse of the Afghan security forces and the government. Another was a civil war, and a third was a negotiated settlement. However, the time frame of a rapid collapse that was widely estimated and ranged from weeks to months and even years following our departure. There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this Army and this government in 11 days. Central Command submitted a variety of plans that were briefed and approved by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, and the President. These plans were coordinated, synchronized, and rehearsed to deal with these various scenarios. One of those contingencies is what we are executing right now. As I said before, there's plenty of time to do AARs and key lessons learned and to delve into these questions with great detail. But right now is not that time. Right now, we have to focus on this mission because we have soldiers at risk. And we also have American citizens and Afghans who supported us for 20 years, also at risk. This is personal, and we're going to get them out. And we in uniform have a deep commitment to this mission.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.